Welcome back to Team Fast Eddy. In this section of our tutorials we're going to deal with page 10 of Building the Baja, and it's going to be a relatively easy step. Again, what we're going to do is look on the left hand portion of the page, and it's going to show that we need two M4 nuts, which are still in our tray from bag A. They are, I believe, the smaller of the four nuts that are still left to put on. We're also going to need two pieces of the flathead M4x15, which is a self-tapping screw. There are four self-tapping screws left in your tray, and those are the shorter of the two. And then we need the same thing by 18 millimeter, and those are the longer of the two sets that are in there. And we are also going to need two cap head M5 by 20 millimeter. And as I'm looking through all of our stuff, there are only two cap screws that are left, so we're going to go ahead and pull those out and use them. Also, from the previous step, we have our cross brace for the front, which is in our tray, and that's part number 85418-1. And the other two parts that we're going to need to complete the step are 85438, and there are two units of that. They are located on these trees right here, and again there are two of them, and the tree is marked 85438 and it's part number 1. So we're going to go ahead and trim that off of our tree using our nippers. We're going to use a hobby knife to clean it up a little bit when we're done. We're going to go ahead and set that tree aside, and we're going to go ahead and take the same piece off of our second tree. And again, we'll trim these up with our hobby knife when we're ready to get going. While you're getting all your pieces and parts trimmed up, I'm also going to introduce you to another piece. It's made by Ramtech, and it is a front shock tower brace that will replace the front shock tower brace that comes with your kit. It's a beautiful piece. It's made out of aluminum, and this one, if you can see, is far from being new. I've had this one on countless Bajas, and I have just used it over and over. It's been durable. This thing has saved my front shocks and front shock towers from being destroyed more times than I could ever tell you. It's a beautifully made piece. It increases the structural integrity of your front brace system on the shock towers. It's definitely a very worthy piece, and I would not hesitate to tell anybody building the SS to go out and get one right away and put it right on. It's just another one of those beautifully made pieces that it's hard to do without. Once you have one, it's going to last you a lifetime. So, the front shock brace by Ramtech. Alright, now that you have all the flashing cleaned off and everything laid out, the first step that we're going to do is to press our M4 nuts into the brace. There's two holes here on the top that you can see where the nuts press in. You cannot use the little nut pressing tool because that's made for an M5. And these are a little smaller, they're an M4. And just like we did on the other ones, you're going to want to place the ridged part towards the outside. And when you look at the nut, you're going to see there's a top and a bottom, and again you want to put the bottom in first. They can be a little bit tricky. Find something that works for you. Sometimes you can just use your finger and press them in. Sometimes they're a little bit tighter. These are a fairly deep hole, so I just grabbed a little tool and I'm going to go ahead and press it all the way in. We're going to go ahead and put the second one in, and again sometimes they're a little bit tight, but they will fit in, and go ahead and use a little tool to press it in so it doesn't fall out. Now we're going to install the shock tower uprights. It can be a little bit tricky. It's kind of a one piece mounts in the front and one mounts in the back. So we're going to go ahead and hold our shock tower with the two large holes towards the top, and we're going to go ahead and hold our shock upright with the little nub on the top facing towards us. From the back, we're going to insert that portion in like that. We're going to go ahead and swivel this around, and the back portion, you're going to see a hole that presses into like so. There's a pretty good diagram of it on the directions for you to follow on how it actually goes in, but it's not hard. Just have to keep an eye out for how they go on and what you're doing, and they should go right together for you. Again, we're going to press one half in, swivel it around, go ahead and press the other part in. Make sure it's all pressed together, and you should have your assembly. Looks just like so. We're going to use the smaller of the two self-tapping screws, or I should say of the four, and insert them into the bottom part inside of the brace. And you're going to need a 2.5 millimeter wrench to get those going. This is a great place to have a ball end wrench because they are kind of catty corner in there, and sometimes a straight wrench just can't get at them quite right. You can move the brace out of the way with a little bit of pressure if all you have is a straight Allen wrench to do this with. So we're going to go ahead and tighten both of those up. Again, the smaller or the shorter of the two screws go in the bottom inside portion, and then the longer of the four screws are going to go in the front side here to hold the assembly together. We'll go ahead and tighten these up. Takes just a second. These are a self-tapping screw going into plastic, so you're going to want to make sure that they're just snug going in. You don't want to over-tighten them and strip them out. If you are using another screw kit such as the RC screws, it'll have a machine screw that goes in there that does a very good job. Okay, so now this is all put together. You can see it's a nice solid unit. We're now going to go ahead and install it onto our bulkhead unit. You'll notice that on the brace there's a portion that lays down that your cap screws are going to go into. There's a portion that's sideways with the holes in the front, and that's where the hinge pins slide through to hold the brace. So what we're going to do is hold the brace so the hinge pin portion is forward, and it's going to slide right in between the bulkhead and the front hinge pin brace that we assembled earlier. Basically it just slides right on there. Should fit right in. And you're going to line the back two holes here up with the holes that are in the top plate. If you remember correctly, there were nuts on the bottom that wanted to fall out, so we put a piece of Scotch tape over them to hold them in. We're just going to leave the Scotch tape there for now, and we're going to use the last two cap screws and insert them in the hole and tighten them up. As we tighten them up, that tape will just kind of move out of the way, and we'll take off the rest in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and tighten these up. Going to recheck them with our wrench, make sure that they're tight enough or not too tight. Snug them up just a little bit. And at this portion, we can go ahead and take off the tape that we used to hold the nuts on, and we can also go ahead and remove the tape that we used to secure that piece so it didn't fall off.